Ladies and gentlemen, this past week has been a crazy one in the world of the WWE. We've had Seth Rollins suffer a shoulder injury, which has led to Bron Breakker kicking Seth Rollins out of the Vision and being catapulted into the main event. And if you feel like all of this is coming at your face way too quickly, it's because it is, because I don't think that this was intended to happen until somewhere down in 2027. And all of this is happening because of one thing, one coast-to-coast headbutt during a Crown Jewel Championship match against Cody Rhodes that led to the Seth Rollins injury. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the impact of that injury. What changes? What is impacted if Seth Rollins has to vacate the championship, if Seth Rollins has to take extended time off? That is what we're going to be talking about today. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're going to fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And you know, if the daily wrestling content just isn't enough, come check out the Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap, where you are going to find a whole host of videos that never get uploaded here on YouTube because they would just get blocked due to copyright because we use real footage over there. So go check it out. Link in the description, link in the pinned comment. Let's start talking about Seth Rollins. Okay, so I did this style of video when the news broke out about WWE potentially using artificial intelligence for their booking. That story has recently been debunked, but people really liked that style of video where it was less scripted, a little bit more podcasty, more commentary style, less editing. So we're gonna try that same approach here. And again, this is why your feedback is really important. If you like this style of video, please let me know, because we can do more of these styles of videos whenever there's new stories that arise in the world of the WWE. So let's talk about Seth freaking Rollins, arguably the greatest world heavyweight champion of all time, especially if you only count this particular lineage of the world heavyweight championship. I think that he has to, at the very minimum, be in the conversation with names like the Batistas of the world, like Edge and Triple H. Maybe it's a stretch to say greatest of all time, but greatest in this lineage of the world heavyweight championship, I don't think is a crazy statement to make. Of course, it is a tremendous tragedy to lose a Seth Rollins, and we thought we initially lost Seth Rollins with the fake knee injury, which led to the ruse of the century, one of the coolest moments that I've ever been part of as a professional wrestling fan. But now, unfortunately, it looks like this ruse isn't so much a ruse. If it ends up being a ruse, it's one of those like fool me twice, shame on you type of situation. But we have Seth Rollins, who has a reported very serious shoulder injury. We are going to learn more about this injury on this upcoming episode of Monday Night Raw. We're going to learn about the fate of Seth Rollins, about the fate of the World Heavyweight Championship. But there are a lot of dominoes that are about to fall, a lot of booking that is probably going to get turned upside down in the event that Seth Rollins really is as injured as the rumors are saying. If he does have to take time off, if he has to take extended time off, I'm talking beyond WrestleMania. And of course, one of the more important things, if he has to vacate the World Heavyweight Championship. It's not just as simple as Seth Rollins just kind of gets removed and we kind of keep going with the storylines. At the end of the day, yes, that is what is going to happen, but Seth Rollins is such an integral part of the day in, day out storylines currently going on in the WWE, that he isn't just a spoke on the wheel and the wheel's just going to keep moving. Like, this dude's a pretty integral part of the entire bicycle. So when you lose a Seth Rollins, you lose a lot of things, not just in the short term, but also in the long term as well. So let's kind of talk about the different pieces that start to fall with the Seth Rollins injury. The first one has already happened, which I think is crazy, right? Like this moment right here is something that I think all of us were expecting to happen at some point or another. But I think most people, if you ask them, if you put a gun to their head, hey, when is Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed going to turn on Seth Rollins? I think that like 99.9% of people would tell you in like 2 years, on the road to WrestleMania 43, on the road to WrestleMania 44. I don't think that any of these people would have said in the middle of October, in the lead up to a C-tier show in Saturday night's main event in the end of 2025. after a couple of months of the Vision being together. I don't think that anybody with a logical functioning brain would have given you that answer. The only way that we get to this crazy moment here is because of the Seth Rollins injury. So this was domino number one to fall, but I wouldn't even consider this an entire domino. I would consider this an entire freaking building falling on its side, because this moment right here just changes so many different things. It changes the trajectory of the Vision and what they were planning on doing with the Vision. It changes the trajectory of what they were likely going to do in the long term with the Paul Heyman storyline involving CM Punk and Seth Rollins, probably Roman Reigns. It definitely that doesn't change the trajectory of Bron Breakker. It accelerates the trajectory of Bron Breakker. I think we can all agree with that statement. And I think Bronson Reed, I think he, out of everybody in this picture, probably stays as close to the same in terms of like where he is at the moment in the hierarchy, in the pecking order. I don't think that his spot changes a tremendous amount. But just the simple fact that they've already pulled the trigger on this, something that, like I stated, we probably were all expecting was going to happen literally years down the line, it happening now should maybe scream at you that this Seth Rollins injury isn't a work, that really we are going to lose Seth Rollins for the short term, for the long term. He probably won't be around for War Games, maybe won't even be around for WrestleMania. Let's talk about some of the other dominoes that fall. Of course, this is one of the biggest dominoes. There are some smaller ones. The next domino that falls is the tag team division, because I always thought that one of the best ways to bring the tag team division back to the forefront, to how to make the tag team division matter again, is for WWE to just follow the same formula that they did on Friday Night SmackDown. And I don't just mean, hey, make a bunch of great tag teams and make them have great matches, because the rebirth of the SmackDown tag team division actually happened a couple of months before that, a couple of months before Fraxium and DIY and Motor City Machine Guns. It started with, believe it or not, the Timu bloodline, with Solo Sikoa's bloodline, by giving them the tag titles, because then WWE was featuring the SmackDown tag team division adjacent, parallel to the main event scene when Solo Sikoa was running Friday Night SmackDown from the heel side of things and building up towards SummerSlam, etc. It gave that main event parallel shine to the tag team division on Friday Night SmackDown, which kind of then opened our eyes to how good the tag team division is, how great the talent is on there, and then they kept building up on that. I thought that they were going to do basically the same thing, and that they should have just done the same thing, but instead of it being Timu Bloodline, it was going to be the Vision. I think a lot of us saw this particular image being something that happens in the near future in the WWE. Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed being World Tag Team Champions. We are seeing reports that this was the original plan, that the original plan was to make the Vision this super dominant faction with Seth Rollins as World Heavyweight Champion, with Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker dominating the tag team division, which would have likely elevated the rest of the tag team division, because whoever eventually beats these guys should be a pretty prominent tag team that can carry the weight of the tag team division moving forward, similarly to how Motor City Machine Guns were able to do that once they beat Bloodline for those tag titles. So again, it's a blueprint, it's a formula that already existed, a formula that I was so certain they were going to go down the path of, but I think that this is completely out the window. Like right now, based on what Bron Breakker has done, it wouldn't make any sense really, in my eyes, for Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed to go after the tag titles anymore. It might be the reason why the scheduled tag team match that's about to happen is Judgment Day versus AJ Lee, AJ Styles and Dragon Lee, because, well, you can't really have the guy who just took out the world champion hold the world title and say that there's only room for one guy and I'm that guy, all of a sudden make room for another guy in Bronson Reed and become tag team champions and then merrily skip through the tag team division. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. So this might actually revert back the tag team division, if that's even possible, because it was already damn near the bottom of the barrel, even further back. We'll see. I really thought that Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed were pretty much the only solution for the problems in the World Tag Team division on Monday Night Raw. Now, I don't think that this is the biggest domino that falls. I think eventually they will be able to fix the tag team division, but I think they had a fix for the tag team division immediately right there that I don't think that they're going to be able to really go after anymore. I don't think that this is on the table as a way to save the tag team division anymore. The next immediate thing that is immediately in the crosshairs that we need to talk about because of the potential Seth Rollins long-term injury is Saturday night's main event. We know that, of course, CM Punk is the number one contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. He was able to beat LA Knight and Jey Uso, and logic would have dictated CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, World Heavyweight Championship. These guys have been fighting for basically forever. And I guess it would have just made sense for that match to happen. Now, with the Seth Rollins injury, all of a sudden, Saturday night's main event looks entirely different. We have no idea what it's going to look like. The only thing that is a certain fact is that CM Punk has some sort of opportunity for the World Heavyweight Championship. Maybe even that isn't a concrete thing. Maybe now that changes as well, and maybe they do something else for the World Heavyweight Championship now. I really don't know. Maybe they do a tournament on another side of the bracket where the winner of that tournament faces CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. Again, this right now is completely up in the air in terms of what the main event of Saturday night's main event is going to look like. I do think that they're going to do something, right? I don't think that they're going to leave us hanging. I don't think that they're going to leave us holding the bag here for a while, mostly because there's a long time between Saturday night's main event and the next marquee show to be able to do something. Saturday night's main event is like an entire month before Survivor Series War Games, so you can't really have a vacant champion for that long. At least I don't personally think so. I think that we're going to have a new world champion at Saturday night's main event. Now, the other thing that we need to talk about that gets accelerated to the point where it might happen as early as Saturday night's main event, that so many of us knew it was an inevitability, but we were kind of looking at WrestleMania 43 or somewhere in 2027 as a possibility, is this right here. We have to talk about the very real possibility of Bron Breakker becoming our World Heavyweight Champion as literally as early as Saturday night's main event, November 1st. Which, again, if you were forced to try and predict the future of the WWE as not that far back as like 2 weeks ago, and you made this prediction, you are Nostradamus. If you made the prediction that Bron Breakker would be World Heavyweight Champion before the end of the year, you're a crazy person that should become the leader of the free world if you are making these amazing predictions. Bron Breakker becoming World Heavyweight Champion is very much on the table. And the only reason it's on the table is because of the Seth Rollins injury. Here we go. Domino, 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 domino. All the way down to the bottom where it leads to Bron Breakker becoming World Heavyweight Champion as early as Saturday night's main event. It's very possible that we find out as early as this episode of Monday Night Raw what that match for the World Heavyweight Championship is going to look like. It very likely will be Bron Breakker versus CM Punk World Heavyweight Championship. It all depends on if they do the, hey, let's vacate the championship and now it's a match for the vacant championship. It's possible that they might do an AEW where CM Punk basically needed to drop the title to Jon Moxley because he had a foot injury. CM Punk still went into the match and basically lost the match in like 2 minutes. I don't know that WWE is willing to have Seth Rollins lose to CM Punk in 2 minutes. I don't see that. I think that WWE would rather wait for Seth Rollins to come back to do the big blow-off match with CM Punk and not waste it in a 2-minute match that protects Seth Rollins from further injury. Although I think, although it physically protects him, I think losing in 2 minutes to CM Punk would hurt the character in the long haul, which is why I think this is a very strong possibility. CM Punk versus Bron Breakker for the World Heavyweight Championship could be something that happens as early as Saturday night's main event. The other domino that falls that leaves us asking questions is Survivor Series War Games. As I said, it's kind of far away. Like, it's not like that close to us. It's the next major PLE, and you know, we've become accustomed to getting these major PLEs seemingly like every 2 to 3 weeks. This one is actually one that WWE gave themselves time to build for, and maybe it's a wonderful, happy accident that they gave themselves this much time, because I think they're going to need all of that time to be able to build to this show because of the Seth Rollins injury. I think that the biggest domino falling when it comes to Saturday night's main event is the Vision no longer being the driving heel force for the men's Survivor Series War Games match. I think that many of us were expecting that to be the case. You know, it was probably going to be Seth Rollins, Bron Breakker, Bronson Reed. There were rumors of like Brock Lesnar and Austin Theory getting added to this match. Not rumors made by me, like rumors made by people that are typical credible leakers and people that have resources to make these claims. Many of them were suggesting that it could very well be Brock Lesnar and Austin Theory. Is that on the table anymore? Is the Vision on the table to be the primary evil force at War Games? I don't think so, because it's only 2 of the 5 at War Games that would be part of the Vision. That being said, we have had War Games matches in the past on NXT that were 4v4, so maybe they can still add Brock Lesnar and Austin Theory if they really wanted to. But after seeing what Bron Breakker did, I don't think that like adding more people to the group right now is the play. But then again, hey, when they kicked out Edge, they added more people to the Judgment Day. Judgment Day still around, so who the hell knows? But now Survivor Series War Games is up in the air. I think many of us were expecting the Vision, World Heavyweight Champion, Tag Team Champions, a couple of other evil bad guys against the Cavalcade of Heroes on Monday Night Raw. I think that's what many of us were expecting. Now, here's what's interesting. This is the match that's currently likely on the docket. You have the MFTs and the Wyatt 6 that's being teased. This, funnily enough, was teased well before the Seth Rollins injury, but maybe this is the Survivor Series War Games match. I don't know. They have options, right? Like they could do MFTs versus the Wyatt 6. They could do MFTs versus Sami Zayn and friends. Like there's different things that they can do for War Games. I don't think that War Games is ruined or anything like that, but I think the idea of the Vision being the principal driving force of War Games is out the window. The other show that might be worth talking about real quick is Saturday night's main event, the December 13th edition with John Cena's retirement. I think pretty much everyone is expecting and assuming John Cena's final opponent to likely be Gunther. Again, this is what these credible sources have been reporting. Then again, these credible resources also said WWE is using AI, and that didn't end up being the case. They're the ones that reported Brock Lesnar and Austin Theory. That doesn't seem to be the case. So who knows? In this space, you can't really trust anybody. You can't even trust that this isn't AI. This very well might be AI Santi at the moment. The reason I'm bringing up John Cena's retirement is because I think a lot of people would have liked to see Seth Rollins versus John Cena potentially as a retirement match. I don't think that many people would have scoffed at the idea of that, of maybe John Cena trying to win one more world championship before he goes out. With the elevation of Bron Breakker as quickly as it's happened, I think we need to consider Bron Breakker as the one that maybe gets given this opportunity. Maybe it's no longer this foregone conclusion that it's Gunther. Like, you have pulled the trigger on Bron Breakker. Again, something that people didn't expect to happen for years. You have pulled the trigger now, today. So this is your guy that you're going to build for the rest of his career. This is a guy that's going to be a cornerstone, a pillar of the WWE. Somebody at WWE might now be considering, well, since we pulled the trigger now, maybe we really pull the trigger and maybe he is John Cena's final opponent. I'm just throwing it out there as a possibility. I think that the chances of Bron Breakker pre-Seth Rollins injury to be John Cena's final opponent were 0, and now I don't think it's 0. I think there's a possibility, enough of a possibility that it's worth at the very least throwing into this video as a conversation piece. The other thing that might be worth talking about is the Royal Rumble in Riyadh. The reason why I bring it up is not even Bron Breakker related. It's more Seth Rollins related, because I think many of us were expecting Seth Rollins to very likely hold the World Heavyweight Championship through to WrestleMania. And if you go to many betting websites, because yes, there's a lot of betting websites where you can bet on professional wrestling, believe it or not, the odds-on favorite right now to win the Royal Rumble was Roman Reigns, because so many people were predicting for this to be the match at WrestleMania 42, Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns for the World Heavyweight Championship. I don't think it would have been crazy to think that Roman is going to win this Royal Rumble, considering he is one of the few kind of like major super mega star faces with the likes of like John Cena and Hogan and Stone Cold Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels. He's the only one that hasn't won the Rumble twice, and it's been a long time since he's won the Rumble. I genuinely could have seen a world where WWE gave Roman Reigns the Rumble win to go off and face off against Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, let's maybe think about a world where maybe Bron Breakker is the World Heavyweight Champion going into WrestleMania 42. Is there still a world where Roman Reigns wins the Royal Rumble and has a match against against the World Heavyweight Champion at WrestleMania 42? If the champion is Bron Breakker, I think so. Absolutely. I think then with what Roman Reigns was doing, feuding with Bronson Reed, the inevitable clash that I think many of us were expecting for was going to be Roman versus Bron Breakker. I think in my head, I had Roman going up against Bronson, and then Bron Breakker, and then wins the Rumble, and then goes off to face against Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 42. Or maybe Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns, no championship involved. Maybe Seth lost the championship beforehand. Either way, if the injury is as bad as they're saying as it is, then whether it's for a championship or no championship, Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns is off the table, which now opens up Roman Reigns to have a new, different matchup at WrestleMania. And to me, the best available option is Bron Breakker. Anyways, folks, I just wanted to sit here and talk and yap. I like these commentary style videos, so you do have to let me know if you like these from time to time. I don't want to only make this style of video. I do like the ones that are a little bit more pre-rehearsed as well, but if you like kind of these more podcasty, solo podcasty conversations, your feedback really is important. It's your feedback as to why I started implementing these style of videos more. So I do read your comments. I do read your feedback. It's important. So let me know. But that's it. All right. Goodbye. Take care. Get out of here.